Hi, my name is Aaron Blaise, and I've been an animator for the last probably 30 years. I was with Disney for 21 years, where I worked on Beauty and the Beast, Pocahontas, Mulan, The Lion King, directed Brother Bear.
And I'm Travis Blaise. I've been in animation for about 27 years. I actually, like Aaron, I started on Beauty and the Beast. That was my first job, and I've been worked with Disney for about 14 years on about 11 different projects there, and currently still as a story artist and character animator. That one's easy. Him. No, seriously. It was like one day I saw Aaron doing a demonstration, and then we were talking over Skype, and he says, "You have to really, you gotta give this a shot." So actually, I met Elodie 2 years ago at CTN here, and then once Aaron told me about it, I was just like, that was it. Actually, I bought it over the summer, and I've been working on it for the last 6 months, and I love it.
I had been looking for digital 2D animation software for a while, and I had just gotten done directing the animation for a commercial for the company John Lewis, which is a department store in the UK. And it was all done on paper, 2D, but I wanted to switch over to working digitally. And I had some friends that worked at the studio, and they knew how I worked. I'd worked with them at Disney for years and years, and they said, "You know what, Aaron? We know the software that's good. That's going to be good for you, and you gotta try TVPaint." And so I sat down. I went home and I bought it right away. And as soon as I started working in it, I fell in love with it. And and that was 5 years ago. And I've never worked with anything else. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and I mean, just to kind of add to that, it was like, even before that, I was always looking for a software program that I could use that kind of had the ability of Photoshop, but then at the same time I could be doing something hand-drawn animation. Ironically, when Aaron had told me about it and I actually started using it, it was brilliant. And now that I'm also a story artist, I've been really trying to figure out ways to really implement this tool, the software program, for my production.
I love new technology. You can't stop progress or shift, in the way art is made. We're always going to find new ways of creating art. The idea that 2D has kind of fallen by the wayside, and 3D has kind of taken over. It's just kind of the natural evolution of everything. And it was sad because I'm a 2D animator. Travis is a 2D animator, but I also love the new tools, and so I don't think it's gone away. I think it's like anything else. I think there's cycles to what happens, in the entertainment industry, and we still shoot black and white films, and so I do think with the right project and the right art direction, we'll see a new resurgence of 2D animated films.
In regards to that, when I was a character animator and everything was shifting over to 3D, I actually went into 3D for a little bit and started training, but I didn't have the passion and love that I had with hand-drawn animation. So one of the things I decided to do was move into story, which was which I found to be like my first love, was going in and storyboarding, which allowed me to have those sensibilities as character animation and applying it and being able to still do hand-drawn, which is still used today. Even though with technology changing, storyboarding is still traditionally drawn. With the advent of other programs like TVPaint, now we have the ability to do it digitally and very fast, and still have that really texture-wise, that real hand-drawn look, which is what I really love about that. And so for me, it was easy. Like while Aaron was going on and directing and developing other projects, I was still in the production end, storyboarding and animating. And even today, even though I'm still storyboarding, I still, with TVPaint, I'm trying to develop my own projects. I'm doing a lot of test animation with it, and just absolutely love that aspect of it. So as the industry changes, I'm still drawing.
True. My business is primarily education, so I go around the world and we lecture and speak on animation, character design, that sort of thing. We also sell courses on our website. At the same time, I'm still a filmmaker. I want to continue making films, and so we're making a short film right now called Snow Bear, and it's going to be made completely in TVPaint. And it's about a lonely polar bear in the Arctic who makes a snow bear for a friend. And it's kind of the story of the two of them. So, as a matter of fact, after we finish this interview, we're going back home tomorrow and we're getting back into it again. We've kind of had to put it off to the side while we traveled around the world a little bit, but now we're getting back in. And at the first of the year, we're going to try to push through and finish the whole thing. So that's what we're working on.
For me, I'm still working in production. So most recently, over the past year, I decided to go on my own, and I moved to the beautiful city of Seattle, where I have my own studio now, and I still work as a storyboard artist in production. And I kind of fell in love with the idea of teaching, so I also teach part-time, and I teach story development. And we actually use the tools of TVPaint to kind of help with that. And I have a couple of projects that I'm working on my own, and currently trying to write a book. And hopefully, if I can convince my brother, maybe I can do a couple of things with you.
No.
or not.
We live in an age of information now. You know, the ability to communicate and share ideas, to share art on a global scale it's as simple as pushing a button now. And so there's never been a better time to be an educator, to be an artist, to be a filmmaker, to be any of it. And, you know, I'd been in the industry for almost 30 years, and I hit a point in my life where I decided, you know what? I've got a lot of experience that I can share on a global scale. That's when I decided to start creating these courses and ideas and films and things like that, so that we can get out there and we can share all over the place. And so a big part of that is our social media. And so we're on it every single day, and we're trying to, you know, reach as far as we can. And, you know, when you can keep in contact with, you know, with friends that we've had for 20 years, you know, we keep in contact with them on Facebook and Instagram and all that, but we're also finding new people, new faces, new eager, you know, people ready to learn. So it's been really cool in that way.
It's kind of interesting because, you know, 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been able to move and work remotely. But because of that, and I'm allowed to work on my own thing and still work in the industry and be active because of the media of today. I really think that, especially like with Aaron and myself, I mean, Aaron has so much to offer, you know, unlike, you know, I don't do tutorials per se like what Aaron's doing, but the idea of sharing your information is really important. I think as artists, we need to share that. I think especially as we get older and we have these experiences and each of us have our own, I think it's important, and we should be sharing, especially in animation. I don't think, once I found it, I don't think I would ever do anything else. Because to me, it's like it's a community, it's a family, and with family, it's about sharing. And I feel like if we can offer something that the next generation can learn something from, I think we're doing ourselves a good service by doing that. And I think everyone should be applying that.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's hard for me to say. I think the software has been put together so well, and I've adapted to it. I don't find a need. I don't find anything missing. I was telling you before, I've come to like working on TVPaint more than paper. You know, I love the brushes. I love the instant satisfaction of playback and changing timing. And nope, I don't have a suggestion. I really do love it the way it is.
You know, I guess mine is different because, you know, Aaron and I both, even though we're animators and artists, we have different directions that we're going in. And with me, I'm still actively working in production. So, yeah, I mean, I would like to see TVPaint really be competitive in the pre-production process, and especially here in the States, in the storyboarding pre-production, you know, pipelines, because I think there's a lot of value that it has. And now that I've been so implemented in using other programs that I'm not particularly fond of, when I found TVPaint, it just, especially with what's Aaron saying with the brushes and the hand-drawn look and bitmap versus vector, and it hardly ever crashes. I crashed it once because I wanted to see how far I could go with it, but it never really does that. But I think as we keep talking and keep working with it, and as I keep immersing myself, like every new program, I just want to like dive into it. So we've talked before where I just finished a pilot for a network production, and I was allowed to use any software I wanted, and I immediately chose that over the other programs because I wanted to see where maybe improvements could happen, and maybe the workflow could be easier in the storyboard sides of things. So
the best piece of advice I can give, especially young people, and especially young people that want to do 2D animation, there's a lot of discouraged 2D animators out there because they feel like, you know, that art form is going away. That art form will only go away if you let it go away. And so it's up to us to carry the torch and keep doing it. And you look at people like Glenn Keane, who's at the top of his craft, and he's still cranking away on 2D animation, and he's making it work. And so if enough of us do it, if enough of us come together, then we can do that. And we just need passion, we need drive, and we need good stories. And so if you have that and you're honest with your work, you know, put your true emotion into that work, then it'll keep going, and you'll have a career at it.
It's funny now that I'm working with students that are, a lot of them, I'm noticing there is this resurgence and wave of people really yearning for 2D animation again. And like Aaron said, as long as we keep it alive, it is an art form. It's a medium. It's 3D would be like watercolors versus acrylics, and it's an art form that shouldn't die, and I don't think it will. And I think it's one of the mediums that I've fell in love with, that you can apply everything that you learned in art school and put it into something in motion on the screen. And traditional animation allows you to do that. With students that are in particular that want to go into the industry and get a job, but really love 2D animation, I always suggest think about pre-production, especially here in the United States. Think about pre-production. Think about storyboarding. Storyboarding, for me as an animator, 14 years, really I found I was able to adapt and transition into it, and it had those sensibilities that I needed to have in terms of storyboarding and key posing. I could still apply those things, just less drawings. And I found that really important. So I try not to discourage students that want to do 2D to go into that, because you can still do both. And that still allows you to keep going with your craft and keep understanding animation in a traditional format.
You said craft.
I know. As soon as I said that, I was like, I said so craft.
Pretentious. You know, for me, I have worked in both worlds. I was with Disney for 21 years. I've been a director and an animator and all of that. And I've had my own business with my partner, Nick Birch. One of the things there's several things I miss about being in a big studio. One is being surrounded by, some of the most talented people in the world, and a lot of them. I worked with, there was over 300 people in our studio. And then working on major projects, really big, fun feature films. And there's something to that when you can attack a big project like that and spend 4 years or 5 years completing it. There's a huge sense of accomplishment at the end of that. But the flip side of that is what I'm doing now, where I can take a small project and spend 6 months on it or 3 weeks on it or something like that. I get a lot of satisfaction out of that, and it's all mine, or it's ours. And then I move on and I try something else. And I'm animating, or I'm painting, or I'm drawing, or whatever. So I have a huge amount of freedom now that I didn't have before. But it's like anything else, you're going to have to give up some things to get others. And so I've given up that big studio feel. I've given up, being surrounded by a lot of people. But what I've gained is kind of eking out my own path and a huge amount of creative freedom.
It's interesting because I'm pretty much an extreme extrovert, so the studio environment really worked well for me. Having left and decided to go on my own, there is a transition of like being in this like bubble, because we are surrounded by amazing artists, and so I've tried to figure out a way to kind of keep those two things together. So because animation's a labor of love, it's about teamwork, it's about collaboration. I surround myself with a lot of wonderful artists and writers and people, creative people that I keep in contact constantly, that we all work remotely. And just because of technology today, even though I work in the studio by myself, I get up every morning, I go into my office and sit down. If I ever get lonely, I put any of my friends on FaceTime, and I get to talk and we can share and collaborate. So I still feel like I'm doing something in that regard with them. So I still tried to meld the idea of being isolated in my own environment, doing my own thing, which I really, really enjoy. At the same time, I mix that in with constantly teaming up with other creatives to kind of build projects and ideas together, which I really need in terms of sensibility. And I think teaching actually helps with that too. I was going to say earlier with teaching, because of the experience that I've learned, it really helps me kind of solidify the things that I do know. And it helps me, I believe teaching story helps me become a better story artist.
Just don't give up. Persist. Just keep driving forward with it. Whatever you do, at some point in your life, you're going to get discouraged. And if you're becoming an artist, you're going to hit a lot of discouragement. It's just who we are. It's passion, and for the flip side of passion is it's extreme fear that you're not doing what you should be doing. And just know that if you love what you're doing, if you love this art, if you love whatever it is that you're creating, then just keep going with it, be passionate about it, and keep driving it forward, and you'll end up in wonderful places. So just keep driving forward.
I mean, honestly, just love what you do and be passionate, and surround yourself with others that have similar passions too. That helps you when you have those moments of feeling insecure and you don't feel like if you have a good direction. I always made a point to surround myself with amazing artists and wonderful people, because it drove me to be better. And being positive about what you do and trying to find the love within it is what keeps me going with it. So try to keep that going.
With your craft.
With your craft.